Okay. I didn't really know how to do this video, and so I just sent the PowerPoint to my email. You can't really see it, it's a little flashy thing, and so this is the only way I knew how to do it. So here we go. My objectives are I want my students to know what underage drinking could lead to. I want my students to understand the dangers of underage drinking, and I want my students to realize the danger of drinking and driving. My first slide here says what is binge drinking, and this is the time where I would ask that question to my audience. My audience would respond, and the response I would be hoping to get would be binge drinking is defined as consuming 5 or more drinks at a time at one sitting. It can cause teens or young adults to pass out, black out, miss school, or behave in ways that is uncharacteristic of them, like would they act differently than what they would normally do. And then after this time, I would pass out a worksheet containing questions about binge drinking and some true and false questions and stuff like that. And during that time, the students would work at their own pace by themselves and finish the worksheet after the worksheet was done. And then I wouldn't pick it back up. I would openly discuss the answers to those questions, and if they had any more questions about binge drinking, then I would answer them to my best ability. My second question is what is alcohol poisoning? And that's I would ask that to the audience, and hopefully the audience would have somewhat of a clear understanding what alcohol poisoning is and how dangerous it really can be. But I will clarify that for them. Alcohol poisoning is a consequence of drinking large amounts of alcohol in a short period of time that can affect your breathing, heart rate, body temperature, and gag reflex. Some causes of or some symptoms of someone who you think could have alcohol poisoning would be someone who is unconscious or in a semi-conscious state, someone who has slow respiration, someone who has cold, clammy, pale skin, or a strong odor of alcohol on the breath or coming from the skin. Those could be the possible signs of alcohol poisoning. And I will explain to my students that if you were ever around someone who you think you may have alcohol poisoning, call 911 immediately and stay with the person until medical help arrives. No matter if you were drunk or anything, you stay with that person because you would want someone to stay with you too. You should also gently turn the person on his or her left side and keep them in that position, maybe by having a pillow behind the back or something to prevent from choking if they happen to vomit. And then during this time, after we've discussed alcohol poisoning and what all that's about and the dangers of it and what you need to do if you're ever around someone with alcohol poisoning, I will have a brief open discussion about alcohol poisoning to see if the class might have any questions. I know alcohol poisoning is talked about a lot, but it's not discussed. Like I know what alcohol poisoning is, but I didn't know what I needed to do if I was ever around someone with alcohol poisoning until I researched about it for this. So. My next question would be, what are some short-term effects of alcohol, and also what are some long-term effects of alcohol? And to answer these questions for this activity, I would one side, like if we're obviously a room with four walls. One side would be called long-term effects, the other side would be called short-term effects. And I would have my list of long-term and short-term effects in my hand, and I have all the audience members in the middle, starting in the middle of the room, and I would name off, let's see, like, for example, a short-term effect is slurred speech. And I would say, long-term or short-term, what would slurred speech be, or somewhere in that neighborhood, I would say something like that. And the audience members would either go to the side where they think would fit best. If they thought slurred speech was a long-term effect of drinking alcohol, then they would go on that side. If they thought it was a short-term effect, then they would go to the short-term effect side. And I would keep doing that in random order until the list was up, or if I thought people were really getting the good idea of it. And also I would have a PowerPoint, a slide of, now you can't really see it, of drinking and driving. I have some little facts back here, like every 2 minutes someone is being injured on a drunk driving crash. Just little things that may really would have the audience really realize how important it is to not drink and drive. Like, and every 2 minutes someone's being injured on a drunk driving crash. Every 2 minutes, that's 30 times 30 people in an hour. Like, that's crazy. And every day in America, 28 people die as a result of drunk driving crashes. I mean, that's a classroom basically a day. So I put these little facts there just to help them realize that how important it is to be careful, and to, if you're going to drink, then have a designated driver or call someone for help and things like that. In my last activity, I would separate the audience into 4 groups, 4 equal groups. Let's say there were 30 people, then I would do 5 groups of 6, or 6 groups of 5, and I would let them choose them by themselves. I feel like it's doing group work is always a lot more fun and more enjoyable when you can do it with people that you're comfortable with and stuff like that. And then I would have them, we would, I guess, go outside into another room when I'd have different obstacles, or when you have to write your name, or walk a straight line, or even driving a go-kart 5 feet or something, different obstacles. I'd have them put on drunk goggles that I've done it before. It's really kind of fun, not fun, because it's different to realize what you actually do in those situations. And I would want them to, students will we'll separate into 4 groups of your choice, and one group at a time will put on the drunk goggles, and try to complete the obstacle course without messing up. Like, that's the whole point. A lot of people say, well, I'm the same person when I'm drunk when I'm not. Well, clearly you're not. And I want to make that really important. I want to show them, to demonstrate them that something as simple as writing your name under the influence can be completely different from what you would do normally. And so that's what I would do.